Two grumpy critics.
I could go on for hours about this. In the words of a very wise man, I was dreaming when I wrote this. Forgive me if it goes astray. Because I've been doing a lot of thinking about this over the past week. I mean, a lot of thinking. I had a very emotional response to this movie. And it took me really a long time to get my thoughts settled and to get them organized so that I could talk about this. Now, I can't afford a counselor, so this is my therapy couch, so you'll have to forgive me. But Star Wars and I go way back. We're very close. I was 7 years old when Star Wars launched in the theaters, and I saw it, and it is no hyperbole to say it changed my life, along with millions of others. I have loved and hated Star Wars off and on throughout the various sequels and prequels. And along comes The Last Jedi. Now, this is, of course, the long-awaited sequel to The Force Awakens, which was handled by J.J. Abrams. Now, J.J. Abrams gave us a perfectly adequate re-entry into the series after these many years. A lot of people, myself included, were concerned, how is he going to handle the aging characters? What's he going to do with the new characters? And basically, J.J. did a fine job. He didn't make a great movie. He made a good movie, and that's all that was needed after the disaster of the prequels.
Yeah.
They corrected the mistakes of the prequels. He introduced new characters while at the same time respecting the old characters and staying true to the spirit of the original trilogy. Yes, he was accused of basically copying Episode 4, but there's nothing wrong with that. Episode 4 was great, and to have a sort of a reprise of that as a springboard into the new Star Wars universe and the Star Wars generation, that is absolutely fine. Now, along comes Rian Johnson. He is the sole writer and director of The Last Jedi. So much for Disney writing or screenplay by committee. They gave it to Rian Johnson and said, here, do what you will. So I had my reservations going in, and that's why it took me so long to see this. Even though I did not read any spoilers, I read a lot of reviews, and from what I saw, I got the feeling that this movie may not be for me because I saw a lot of indications that longtime Star Wars fans may not be happy with some of the decisions Rian Johnson made. Mark Hamill himself even came out before the movie's premiere and said, I don't like what he did with Luke Skywalker. He since backtracked that, but who knows how much of that was the result of a little pressure from Disney. Anyway, Star Wars, The Last Jedi. This is not the Star Wars movie we need. It is the Star Wars movie that the world deserves in 2017. What a year that was. And this is pretty much a perfect bookend to that disaster of 2017. I don't know if you'll remember a very famously photographed Trump T-shirt from the 2016 Republican National Convention that says, blank your feelings.
Right.
In other words, sod your feelings. Well, this is pretty much Rian Johnson looking at all of Star Wars fans, including myself, who have loved Star Wars all their lives, and saying, blank your feelings. You want to know about Rey's parents? Blank your feelings. You want to see Luke Skywalker become a hero and or a Yoda-like master to Rey and teach her the ways of the Force? Blank your feelings. You want to see how the characters handle the news of Han's death and see Chewie and Luke and Leia grieve together? Blank your feelings. You want to know what the New Order is really about and why the rebellion exists, where they came from? Blank your feelings. I'm not going to waste time nitpicking details and plot points because other people have done it a whole lot better. As a matter of fact, I found this guy on YouTube named Mauler, Mauler, who literally recorded 5 hours worth of scene-by-scene critique of this movie, basically tearing it apart. It's safe to say that the writing is so poor in spots that it's not even subjective. I mean, it's objectively bad writing in spots. What I want to talk about quickly, though, is the complete departure from the Star Wars universe we know and love. Now, change is inevitable. We know that Han, Luke, and Leia can't go on forever. But J.J. showed the way. Again, he showed the way to balance the old characters with the new. Rian turns it upside down, all in what I can assume he thinks is very cool subversiveness, but it just turns out to be a train wreck. He absolutely wrecks the character of Luke. The new characters he introduces are not interesting in the least. A good portion of the film feels like an episode of Rebels or Clone Wars on the Cartoon Network, and plot-wise, in the end, amounts to absolutely nothing and wouldn't even have been necessary were it not for a pointless decision by one of the major characters. Poor Chewbacca, his character is completely wasted. He's an Uber driver in this, and all he does is play against those stupid little porgs. That's it. That's all Chewie does. He doesn't even get to hug Luke and say, oh, Isn't it? Doesn't it suck that Han's dead? He's just there driving people around in the Falcon. And the humor. I mean, a lot of people have talked about the humor in this movie, and there's nothing wrong with humor in a Star Wars movie. It's been there from the start. The problem is that the humor was good. It was well written. In this movie, the humor it just falls completely flat. It is completely it goes against the tone in the movie. 1 minute you're supposed to be feeling emotion, and then Rian Johnson throws a laugh at you, and inside you're thinking, how am I supposed to feel at this point? Am I supposed to be laughing? Am I supposed to be crying? I don't get it. It's a horrible whiplash of emotions. And it's just not well written at all, the humor. Plus, can I say Mary Poppins Leia? Can I just throw that out there for people who've seen the movie? And did I mention the Porgs? Now, if you want to know really what this movie's like, all you have to do is imagine what it would be like if there were TV commercials on Saturday morning today for the Last Jedi action figure. Introducing the new line of Star Wars action figures from Kenner. Relive the action from The Last Jedi with new figures, including Rey. Luke, I've come with R2-D2 and Chewbacca, your absolute best friends in the galaxy that you haven't seen for 30 years, and we need your help to save the rebellion. Nah, I'm good. Jedi suck. Now go away. Gee, let's go watch TV. Now from Kenner. Okay. Now, before you say that's not fair, the original movies were aimed at kids, so this should be a kids movie too. No, Star Wars is really not just for kids. It's for grown-ups too. Look at any photos from the 1977 theater lines wrapped around the block to see Star Wars. There are no kids in sight. Kids and adults liked it. Why? Because there was light in the movie. There was an unwavering hero. What Rian has done is replace that with poor writing and cynicism, and has disrespected everything that was written and done by and about Luke Skywalker and the other heroes in the movie. Now,
so you didn't like it then?
Despite all of that, no, I love it. No, despite all of that, I do have to say there were two moments in the movie that really gave me a feeling of childlike wonder again. First, of course, is the opening fanfare and the title crawl. I mean, that gave me chills. And there's one scene in the movie where the Falcon springs into action and they use the TIE Fighter attack music from the original score from the very first movie. So for that, I thank Rian for that, because it gave me a few seconds of fleeting pleasure. But other than that, I just cannot believe what Rian Johnson did with this movie. I cannot believe that Disney or anyone involved let him do this to these characters. Now, I'm not bitter. I know that Star Wars is no longer for me, and that's fine. I accept that. The Star Wars that I know and love began and ended with the original trilogy, and it's really time to let go. I held on through the prequels, which just were disappointing. I held on through J.J. Abrams and the completely uninspiring Rogue One, but now it's just time to say goodbye. Did I mention Porgs yet? I give this movie 2 Womp Rats out of 5.
So apart from that, Mrs. Lincoln... Wow.
I'm telling you, it's been a very emotional week.
I can tell. My goodness.
It was a quality rant.
Yeah, it was an extremely good quality rant.
Absolutely. I love that. Yes.
A Radio 6 international production from the USA. Copyright 2018.